Hi, I'm Kibin Alleyne, and today is Tuesday, September 10th. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. The Lindsley F. Kimball Research Institute at the New York Blood Center has a long-standing commitment to patients with sickle cell disease. In addition to serving transfusion needs, the organization also develops treatments including stem cell therapies. Director of Community and Stakeholder Relations for the New York Blood Center, Yadira Navarro, joins me to discuss their efforts. Yadira, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Now, as mentioned, today we're going to be focusing on sickle cell disease. And although many people know what it is, a lot of people may not know what it is. So can you explain what sickle cell disease is and how it actually affects the human body?
Sure. Sickle cell disease is an inherited disorder, mostly common amongst the Black African American communities, although you will find patients with sickle cell disease in the Mediterranean, Latin America, and other parts of the world. It's a disorder where the red blood cells, which are our oxygen carriers throughout the body, are altered. And instead of being a round, donut-like healthy shape, they're sickled. They're kind of like a half-moon crescent. And unfortunately, because of that shape, they become clogged and they clump up throughout the body, throughout the small blood vessels, cause excruciating pain episodes for those who suffer from the disease, and ultimately damage tissues and cause major organ damage. So, yeah.
Now, as mentioned, you said that African Americans are among those who are most affected by this disease, as well as other people from different minority groups. Can you just tell us a little bit more how this may be affecting those communities a little bit more uniquely? And even within that, are children more affected? Are older adults more affected? Like, who is most vulnerable to sickle cell disease?
Great. So it's an inherited disease. It's really 1 in 365 babies each year are born with the illness. So it's approximately about 1,000 babies each year. Our current estimates show it's 10,000 people here in New York, 100,000 people nationwide, and millions globally. It's inherited at birth. So it really, once you have it, you have it for life. Those with this disease end up having a 20 to 30 year less of a life expectancy than those without the disease. And ultimately, it completely changes their lives. We have sickle cell patients where, just they're unable to work, they're unable to function, depending on how the disease impacts them specifically. You may have some who do not go into crisis often, and you'll have others that are completely debilitated. The best treatment for these patients are life-saving blood transfusions. So depending on whether or not they have access to those transfusions, is whether or not they can really, live and find a way to function.
Now, definitely, upon my research, I found out that there's something called sickle cell traits. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I haven't seen it in anything else like this before. But how can having the sickle cell trait impact future family health?
Great. So sickle cell trait is sort of the starter. So again, as an inherited disease, in order to get the disease, both of your parents would have the sickle cell trait and then pass that down to the child. So 2 sickle cell traits from each parent would bring it to sickle cell disease for the individual. If only one parent passes down the sickle cell trait, then very likely the child would have sickle cell trait as well. For most people, it doesn't affect them at all. They just have this dormant trait in their body, and it's something for them to be aware of for the future. Others do experience some complications from it. They do have some painful episodes and other symptoms of the disease. But as with all of us, it's important to understand our own genetic makeup, our own health situation, so that we can make the best decisions for our lives, and also in family planning. So oftentimes, if a person is aware that they have sickle cell trait, understanding that it takes 2 traits to have a child with sickle cell disease. Statistically, they say for people who both have the trait, they'll have a 1 in 4 chance of having a child with sickle cell disease. So just understanding that and doing the research, we have patients that'll say with the trait, they'll ask that, when meeting a romantic partner, if the other person has the trait, to then make the appropriate decisions as they move forward in that relationship.
Wow, thank you so much for kind of clarifying that and kind of expanding on that, because definitely when I was doing my research, I was like, wow, it's even if you don't have it, technically still could impact, your future family. So I thought that was so interesting. Now, I definitely want to move on to talk about the New York Blood Center. can you just give us an overview of some of the work that the center is doing to support those with this disease?
Sure. So New York Blood Center, we're actually in our 60th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're really proud of our work. We're leaders in the industry for sickle cell disease research and support. That's also what sets us apart from other centers. We have our Lindsley F. Kimball Research Institute, and through that institute, we do two types of work for sickle cell patients. We have our researchers that are looking into the cellular makeup, what each component brings to the table, how that works in relation to sickle cell patients. As we mentioned, those cells are sickled, how they end up clumping in the body, how those excruciating, painful episodes begin and how to prevent them, how transfusions work with those patients. We also have our immunohematology genomics lab, and this is kind of a well-kept secret. Here in New York City, that laboratory is finding the exact matches for these patients. So blood transfusions are the best treatment option for these patients, and as you may know, there's the 4 blood types, A, B, O, AB, and then the positive and negative. We also, depending on your ancestral background, have proteins and antigens in the body that are specifically matched to that. So for patients like sickle cell patients that are chronically transfused, finding that precise match is really going to make the difference. It's going to allow their bodies to accept them, because as they get more and more transfusions, if they're not similarly matched, their body will reject them and they'll end up having more complications. So that laboratory, we are contacted by really major institutions that have sickle cell patients where they're not sure what type of blood, what is that perfect makeup to give them, and they'll send it to our laboratory. Our world-renowned researchers will find that match. And we're also really proud to say we have the country's largest rare blood inventory. So oftentimes we can identify that match and then go into our our rare blood inventory and provide those units, which makes all the difference.
Now, with that being said, I want to talk about just blood donations here in NYC. Unfortunately, fewer than 2% of the population donate blood.
Correct.
How does this impact the work that you're currently doing to assist patients living with sickle cell?
Yeah, so 60% of the population are eligible to donate blood. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, only 2% do. Oftentimes, that's because of convenience. It's a lack of education. People don't realize that this is such a simple thing to do that will have such a tremendous impact. The pandemic also is a major factor, as with all industries throughout the world. But for us, once we had the shutdown, we were unable to have our blood drives at different host locations. And this disproportionately affected our young population as well as our diverse population. We had to rely on our donor centers, which are brick and mortar locations that people can visit to donate. But unfortunately, we don't have them in all areas. So it's really been a challenge to keep a healthy blood supply. For us, a healthy blood supply is a 7 to 10 day supply. We've been averaging probably 3 to 5 days throughout. And then, as you may have seen on the news from time to time, the summer we just had one, we go into blood emergencies where we have a 1 to 2 day supply of specific types. And for our hospital partners, oftentimes they're postponing surgeries. They're just trying to make decisions with what they need, making sure that the blood is on hand for those in emergency or in sickle cell patients, for them in crisis situations. So it's important that everybody who can really does.
Now, I also want to talk about the fact that apparently September is the most challenging month for blood donations. Can you explain why?
Yeah, so our most critical periods are summer and winter months, but September, everybody's going back to school, everybody's, preparing. It's the end of summer, so if they have a free day, they want to go out, enjoy, and we all understand that. But our patients don't take a break. So the truth is, if we had more people donating regularly, it wouldn't be such a burden for those that are holding the supply. If we had 3 to 4% of the population donating blood, we wouldn't need to go into these crises. So again, as everyone's preparing to go back to school and, ends of summer, we understand that, but if they could remember us and, take the time to donate, that would be really helpful for these patients specifically.
Now, I definitely kind of want to further talk about just prevention and treating complications. Can you tell us a little bit more? I understand that the New York Blood Center does tremendous research regarding that. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that research has found in regards to treatments? And I understand that there may not be that many preventative measures, but what people can do if they are living with this disease?
Yeah, so we are very fortunate. We work with 3 different local sickle cell partners: the Sickle Cell Thalassemia Patients Network, the Sickle Cell Awareness Foundation Corporation International, and the New York State Sickle Cell Advocacy Network. And they're great partners in making sure that the community, especially those with relatives or those experiencing sickle cell, have the resources that they need. Our researchers work closely with all of these organizations and other hospitals throughout our city and throughout our territory, just to make sure, again, that we have, as you mentioned, the stem cell therapies in place and the treatment options in place. I know one of our partners, one of our sickle cell patients gets blood replacement therapy, which is sort of a preventative. Before she goes into crisis, she'll just get a few transfusions prior, and again, it's giving her those fresh, healthy cells so that her body can continue to move forward. But you know, our researchers, again, are just making sure that they understand the cellular, from a cellular level, what that means, how to get the treatment options that they can. There are some very high level and very expensive treatment options that are considered to be cures, but they're inaccessible to the public. So really, because of the cost. So blood transfusions are that simple way where we as a community can really support each other. It's free, and you're really giving the person the life that they need.
Now, can you just further explain for those who are watching what they can do right now to support those who are living with this disease?
Of course, yeah. Donating blood is so simple. We ask for about 45 minutes to an hour of your time. You're going to go in, you're really going to just fill out a form. You're going to sit with one of our donor specialists and do sort of a mini health history, little mini physical. They'll check your blood pressure, your iron, clear you to donate. When you donate, it's a 10-minute process where you're really just giving a pint of your blood, and we take that back to process it into the different components for the patients in need. And then we offer refreshments, which for some people is the best part. We have a little bit of a competition between Oreos and Lorna Doone, so people can pick whatever they seem to prefer. But that entire process takes 45 minutes to an hour. If you go to our website, you can find a blood drive near you, and again, one of our donor centers. We're excited because we do have a donor center coming to the Bronx. It's in its final stages of preparation there, so we hope to have that at the start of next year. And again, you know, our Bronx sites will have a nice location to come and donate if it's accessible to them.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and having this very important conversation. And I love to hear that, you know, we're having something like this coming to the Bronx, so it could, you know, help not only serve the people in the borough, but give the people in the borough an opportunity to give back. So once again, I just want to thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation.
Thank you.
To learn more about the efforts made by the New York Blood Center, please visit their website at nybc.org. Don't go away, we'll be back with more Open after this.